Starting off this list at number 10, the new character, my new favorite Pixar character, Forky. Well, did it seem like Forky is a bit suicidal? Every chance he got, he tried to kill himself.
Everyone, I want you to meet Forky.
Golly, Bob House. Look how long his arms are.
Theories surrounding Forky suggest that Forky wants to kill himself because he just doesn't fit in. He is just so different from everyone else. I mean, even in that small clip I showed you guys, one of the toys mentions how long his arms are, and he looks very different from all of the other characters. I loved Forky in the film, and I think adding a new main character to the franchise was a very bold move, but they did a fantastic job. But isn't that funny having Forky always trying to commit suicide? I mean, this theory is pretty dark. A war might be coming, and this scary theory is up next at number 9. Servant versus the Master. This is a talked about theory that suggests that the toys in the movie are starting to rebel against the humans, as we saw in the 4th installment of the Toy Story franchise. We saw many toys, including Woody, not wanting a child, a master if you want to call it that. The toys are not feeling the need to serve as dummies anymore. They are evolving independently. It's just a matter of time where the toys will start attacking the humans for freedom, and maybe the roles will be reversed. Yeah, I would be freaking out as well, and I would be listening to the toys because there are way more of them than there are of me. The toys at number 4 at the beginning felt like it had no control whatsoever of their own destinies. They only had one purpose, and that was to be slaves to the humans until the end of the video the revolution started. Toys didn't feel the need for humans anymore. Toy Story 5 can get pretty dark if Pixar for some reason wants to go into that direction. Moving into number 8, there have been many fan theories talking about the toys being immortal, so if a toy became bad and starts hurting people, we might not be able to destroy them. Throughout all of the Toy Stories, especially Toy Story 4, we have had villain toys. We had Gabby Gabby and her really scary looking security dolls. We'll talk about them later on in this video. Well, Reddit users have been talking about the immortality of these toys and what happens to the heroes after their owners passes away. Would they become depressed and try to take their own lives, but they can't? One Reddit user was saying, what does this mean for mankind? What if all humans die out? The toys will be the ones running the world. I mean, who would have thought? Moving into number 7, remember that Gabby Gabby character we talked about? Well, some are calling her one of Pixar's best villains.
Oh, the store is about to open. Don't worry, we'll take you where no one will see us.
Oh, no, we can't stay.
Yes, you can.
She might look very innocent on the outside, but I assure you, something evil is within. She was able to manipulate other toys into destroying other toys. One of the big plot of the film was for Gabby, who was manufactured with a broken voice box, to get another toy's voice box, and that's where Woody came in. Gabby managed to kidnap Forky and Woody, and was able to rip out Woody's voice box so she can have it.
Gee, I wonder if we were made in the same factory. Wouldn't that be something? I gotta say, you are in great condition.
If you're a little kid watching this, that scene, it's pretty traumatizing. Number 6, Bo Peep might actually be the true villain in the movie and no one even knew about it. Bo Peep has actually been absent in the series since the 1999 Toy Story 2 film. So this was the time to bring her back to the big screen, and there was speculation that she would actually return as a villain and a rival to Woody. There were moments in the film like it felt like she could turn evil at any time and become the arch nemesis to Woody, and this plot could set up the next film as well. It would be so easy for Bo Peep to become evil because she's an unwanted broken toy with no motivation to help the world or other children out. She would be fueled by anger and want revenge on the new wanted toys, or even the children for not loving her. In Toy Story 4, it seemed like Bo Peep could have been responsible for some pretty awful things. Some suggest that she stole the voice box from Gabby Gabby, and Gabby is now terrified of Bo Peep and what she's capable of. Also, another theory suggests that she kidnaps all the toys that are unwanted and have them work for her. Moving right along into number 5, Woody and the rest of the toys are like vampires who drain children of their joy. So just when we all believed that these toys were helping the children, they were just manipulating them. And maybe that's why Sid was so mean to the toys, because he knows the truth. Sid was trying to destroy all the toys starting from the very first Toy Story movie.
Well, we have ways of making you talk. Where are your rebel friends now?
Sid was trying to get answers out of Woody because he knows he can talk, and Sid knows that Woody isn't the only evil toy. Number 4. Gabby Gabby's dummy minions are actually hitmen. Gabby hired these dolls as her own personal hitmen, and they have kidnapped and killed many people and destroyed a ton of toys along the way. Also, doesn't these dolls kind of remind you of someone? You know, some character in, let's say, Goosebumps? I wonder if Goosebumps had a problem with this. Also, how many fights have they been in? Because their bodies are so messed up, and it kind of seems like they might have just came out of prison. Moving into number 3, whatever happened to Sid? Evil Sid from the other Toy Story movies. Well, he might have actually been the owner of the antique store, so he brings toys there to die because he hates them all. Going back to Toy Story 3 for a moment, there was a theory saying that Sid used to play with the corpse of the dead toys. And he played with these dead toys in front of the other toys who were alive and probably mortified. I mean, it's pretty morbid when you think about it. Number 2, there may not be another Toy Story movie, and this is pretty scary to me. A lot of people are saying that they shouldn't do another one, and I think this is terrifying to me because I enjoy all of these movies and I want it to continue on and on and on. But I'll probably be like 40 years old before the next one actually comes out. And it's sad to know that Pixar might be ending like this with Toy Story 4 and how it ended. Toy Story did hit records at the box office, which is why I'm actually pretty hopeful that there's gonna be another movie. It's just gonna be 10 years from now. But what did you guys think? You guys who did watch the movie, did you like it? Did you hate it? Or did you not even care about it? Finally, number 1, the children in the movie were actually evil. And they are very powerful. Powerful enough to bring toys to life. The only way a toy can come back to life is from the imagination from the children. The children believe that these toys are alive. Well, if they think that they're alive, why do they constantly try to destroy them and just rip them apart? These kids seem to get the enjoyment of torturing these harmless toys. I know we've been thinking about how many toys were able to come back to life, but let's think about how many toys died because the children killed them. I mean, that's pretty dark. This has actually been seen throughout all of the Toy Story movies. Also, if kids can bring to life these toys, what else can they bring back to life? Children in Toy Story can actually become a threat to society, and the toys in the movie are the ones trying to help the kids with their negative thoughts because they want them to stop destroying the other toys.
Alright, coming in at number 10, Wall-E is Satan. No, I refuse to believe it. Redditor Vexless presents a very good argument. It all hinges on interpreting the movie through the lenses of Genesis and the Bible. In this scenario, Wall-E is seen as the serpent in the Garden of Eden. So basically, the paradise in which mankind live in the garden in the Bible could be applied to the so-called paradise of the Axiom ship. Humans want for nothing. They just eat and drink and sit and entertain themselves all day without concerns for work or politics or money. Then, Wall-E comes aboard with temptation, a seedling from planet Earth. Now this could be seen as the apple that the serpent offers Eve. Yes, Eve, the name of the robot that Wall-E gives the seedling to. It's all falling into place. The chain of events tempts humans away from their paradise and back to Earth, where they have to labor and toil and things just aren't so great. Genesis says, by the sweat of your brow you will eat your food until you return to the ground, since from it was where you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return. Ominous. Coming in at number 9, where does the poop go? If we really think about the world of Wall-E, it's actually pretty gross. Yes, humans don't have to work for a living and they can laze around all day, which to some sounds great, but really, actually, it's kind of super gross. We see humans falling out of their chairs and unable to stand up at one point in the movie, which means getting up to go to the toilet is probably off the cards. The implication here is that humans simply just go in their chairs. So basically in the world of Wall-E, people likely stink. 1, they don't wash, but 2, they regularly soil themselves. Honestly, weeing and pooping in their chairs, I'm sure the chairs kind of self-clean, but like seriously, is this what we have to look forward to with humanity? Blech. Okay, worse still, the humans in Wall-E are pretty fat and unable to do physical activities, so I guess that begs the question, where do babies come from at number 8? And no, obviously you don't want to hear the theory. You don't. You just don't. You don't, but you do because you're still here. Good. So a lot of people have been wondering how the humans of Axiom reproduce. While I'm sure that human population is reasonably tightly controlled, they are still reproducing, keeping the bloodline alive. There was one pretty intense but pretty credible theory posted by Vin Sneasel on Reddit, and I also just want to take a moment to say, Vin Sneasel, great name. They began their theory by saying, the floating chairs people ride around in take care of all of their bodily functions. This includes masturbation. Genetic material is stored and eventually eventually transported to the nursery on the lower decks. Okay, let's just stop here for a second. So the machines help people masturbate. That is one sexy chair, and I don't feel good about it. Alright. Then, the machines store the sperm. Now, the implication here is that the robots then use the bodily matter to impregnate female humans at controlled rates. So, they're kinda, I don't know, sex machines. Literally sex machines. My favourite comment response to this is from Chief Engineer Starfleet, who said, "Holy dystopia, Batman." Honestly, nail on the head. Coming in at number 7, we have WALL-E as fat shaming. Some angry people of the internet are convinced that WALL-E is the work of fat shamers. The universe of WALL-E presents humans as lazy gluttons who don't work and depicts these beings as fat. Now, body positivity associations are upset with this as they think it sends out the wrong message about people who are overweight, perpetuating the stereotype that larger people are lazy. Some compare the movie to being comfortable with the body perfect propaganda spread by Nazi Germany. Has Disney Pixar gone too far? You tell me. Coming in at number 6, Autopilot is HAL 9000. 2001 A Space Odyssey is my favourite film of all time, but I have to admit that HAL 9000 is a bad robot. It's one of the scariest villains I've ever seen. In the Stanley Kubrick movie, HAL tries to kill the pilots of the ship when he finds out that he thinks they're plotting to reboot him. HAL is basically a bad robot. Here's how. Now have a look at the bad robot from WALL-E, Auto. Is Auto HAL, or are they related? Auto doesn't show any emotions, but is seemingly pretty ruthless. If he is related to the HAL bot, well, serious murderous trouble could be afoot for humanity. Coming in at number 5, we have the WALL-E cannibals. Are the people from Axiom eating and drinking one another? Like, actually, maybe. This scary theory was shared by Matt Pratt of the Film Theorist on YouTube, and basically, they say that there is clearly not enough food and resources for the people of the Axiom ship. He says, how could people be that fat? They pose that when a human dies, they're actually turned into food. The theory goes that in the movie we see trash from Axiom being turbo-ejected into space, but in the scenes that we're shown, there aren't actually any human bodies in the mix. According to the film theorist, the way humans are being nourished 700 years after leaving Earth is by making use of body meat. It seems that Auto, with the directive of A113, is behind it all. He wouldn't let something like secret cannibalism worry him, and he doesn't want Axiom to return to Earth for resources, so he strips dead humans of their meat, adds flavour, and calls it cupcake in a cup. The people of Axiom are none the wiser. Eating human meat would be pretty fatty too, which may be why the humans on the ship are so blubbery. It doesn't spell balanced diet. Coming into number 4, we have WALL-E as a stalker. Some people of the internet are convinced that the benevolent WALL-E is actually a psycho in love. He becomes infatuated with Eve and follows her around incessantly. He even builds a statue of her. He then creepily keeps trying to hold her hand. Like, if these were humans and not robots, I mean, wouldn't we be finding WALL-E a little bit of a creep? I think we might. Stop trying to hold my hand. Coming in at number 3, worse than a psycho stalker, is WALL-E a killer? I can't believe that cute sweet WALL-E can kill, but that hasn't stopped the people of Reddit coming at him with pitchforks. A number of fans out there have pointed out that it is almost impossible for the Earth to have become overrun by trash by accident. Some fans say that the WALL-E unit went rogue and destroyed all of the other WALL-E units over a 700-year murder spree. That's why there's so much waste and there's only one robot around, and we see him capitalizing on parts of his fellow units at the beginning of the movie. Basically, he collects the body parts of his dead friends to ensure his own survival. WALL-E can't be a murderer, can he? Coming in at number 2, we have the sentient robots, the AI takeover. Robots don't have feelings, they're machines. Machines programmed by humans to do what they're told. A robot able to act extraneous to human intention is pretty scary. In WALL-E, this is posed as a malfunction, but if all robots found sentience, wouldn't that be, kind of terrifying? WALL-E is posed as a good robot, but what if a bad robot became self-aware? Then we'd literally all be screwed, seeing as this would basically be the beginning of the AI takeover, right? Finally, coming into number 1, we have the humans all fail. Not such a happy ending for WALL-E after all. There is a massive overriding theory out there called the Pixar theory. Now, this suggests that all Pixar movies take place in the same universe along a spread timeline. It starts and ends with a time loop in Brave and Monsters Inc. Anyway, the Pixar theory suggests that prior to WALL-E, just before the Cars universe, animals rose up against humans to stop pollution, but machines stepped in and saved humanity with the proviso proviso that they be ejected from Earth into a spaceship called Axiom, leaving machines to run the planet. Enter cars. The problem is that the Earth burns too much fuel and becomes a wasteland unfit to sustain life. Cars eventually die out because there's no more oil and Earth is left as a huge junkyard. Enter WALL-E. WALL-E ends with humans coming back to salvage Earth, but famously, the captain wants to grow a pizza plant, exposing humans as pretty naive. The theory goes that eventually humans fail and die out, and animals mutate and rise once more, creating the so-called monsters we see in Monsters University, where monsters are taught that humans were toxic. Eventually, the monsters realize that they need to bring humans back to provide them with sources of energy, so they open doors to time travel to different human generations. Right, anyone else exhausted? I have to say though, pizza plants, great idea. We should get on that.
Starting us off at number 10 is the real plan. Now we all see how Buzz Lightyear has no idea what the hell is going on when Andy first gets him. He literally thinks he's landed on some alien planet with all these toys and is like, okay, I'm ready for action. Woody is threatened by him at first and tries multiple times to throw him out the window and just sabotage him in general, but eventually the two team up and end up being good friends. But according to this theory, the Space Rangers sent Buzz to the toys to specifically wipe them out. It's ingrained in them that they're the best and most superior toy in the market, so he must eliminate all the others. So his initial mission when he's there is to gain all the toys' trust before getting rid of them, so Woody's actually right to distrust him. But then when he gets to know the toys and realizes they're actually sweet and harmless and he can't just eliminate them because it's programmed into him, he has a change of heart. And I'm glad he does. Coming in at number 9 is Andy's dad. Just to preface this one, it encompasses both Woody and Buzz, not just Buzz, before people get butthurt. Either way, I know there are two camps when it comes to Andy's dad. One side thinks he's just estranged or the parents are divorced, and the other camp believes Andy's dad passed away. A very popular fan theory on Reddit agrees with the latter camp in thinking Andy's dad died. The thread goes on to say he was a cop who most likely died in the line of duty, and that explains why Andy is super attached to two male toys, Woody and Buzz. And Andy isn't just attached because they're both male, he's attached because they both represent one kind of law enforcement or another. Woody is a cowboy sheriff patrolling the Wild West, Buzz is a space ranger keeping peace throughout the galaxy. The two toys act as authority figures in Andy's life because that role was empty. If Andy's dad was in the movie, there would have been no reason to have a doll that represents an authority figure like Buzz. So it's kind of a situation where do we want Andy's dad in the movie but no Woody and Buzz, or the opposite? Either way, I never thought of it that way, so it's actually quite interesting. Will the kids watching understand that subtext while watching it though? Probably not. It's not that deep for them. At number 8 we have training. Isn't it slightly odd how Buzz Lightyear full on acts like a toy? He knows he's a space ranger, why would he act like a toy around people? Well, according to this theory shared by Editor Octogenarian Sandwich, it was all part of Buzz's training. The special forces most likely train him to act like a local in any situation he's put in order to blend in and stay safe. That way the locals, i.e. the other toys, won't perceive him as a threat. Self-preservation, my friends, it's important. Now he had no idea that staying still wouldn't save him from being eaten or thrown out, hence he acted like a toy despite 100% knowing that he wasn't one. Filling at number 7 slot is the Illuminati. I told you there is always an Illuminati theory, mark my words you guys. Either way, there's a very popular theory that suggests that what goes on in Toy Story 3 is an allegory to the Illuminati. Antagonist Lotsa Huggin' Bear is the head of the whole thing, which is not surprising since he basically runs Sunnyside Daycare as a dictator. When the toys get there, Lotso completely takes advantage of Buzz Lightyear and turns him into his very own personal spy. He does this by changing Buzz's settings from play to demo, essentially wiping his memory and transforming him into Lotso's henchman. The Illuminati parallel is confirmed when the Ken doll says he's made us into a pyramid and put himself on top, referring to Lotso. And if you know the Illuminati logo, then you'll know it's a pyramid with an eye at the top. Need I say more? And Buzz just gets used as a pawn in the whole thing, so poor him. Now at number 6 is the Joy Sucker. This one is morbidly dark and I don't really know how to feel about it. Toy Story 4 director Josh Cooley put forward this theory, and although he didn't take credit for it, he did say he read a fan saying it. He shared that Buzz Lightyear isn't a toy, he's more of a vampire, and instead of living off blood, he lives off the joy of children, or in this case, Andy. As long as there are children in the world that love their toys, then Buzz Lightyear will be kept alive. Can you imagine how much fun Andy is having just playing with him, not knowing he's physically just draining his joy away from him, leaving him just an empty vessel void of any happiness? End scene. That was pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. This also explains why Sid is such a prick to all the toys and Buzz. He's the only one that knows the truth about the joy-sucking capabilities that they have. Coming in at number 5 is The Walking Dead. I love The Walking Dead. I've said this numerous times in previous videos, but I'm not fully caught up yet, so do not post spoilers in the comments or I actually will come for you. And don't test me, you guys already know I'll do it. You already know. Either way, YouTuber John Ray made a 6-minute video explaining that the Toy Story trilogy, excluding the 4th movie, is super similar to the plot of The Walking Dead. I mean, off the bat, Woody is basically Rick Grimes. They're both Western sheriffs who lead this mismatched group of people in a world where everything is either trying to tear them apart or literally chew them up. Sid's mutant toys kind of represent the walkers who are half there but half not and are just kind of doomed to walk the earth as shadows of their former selves. The only thing that really keeps Rick going is his son Carl, similarly with Woody and Andy. But Andy is too busy playing with Buzz, the ultra macho officer, as is Carl with Rick's best friend Shane. Sunnyside Daycare is the equivalent of the community of Woodbury in the show, both featuring a very psycho leader in their own right. At number 4 is Pixar versus Disney. So already, just by looking at Woody and Buzz, you can already see the major difference with Woody being more of an old-timey cowboy sheriff and Buzz being a futuristic astronaut. But that's not all that they represent. John Lasseter, a former Disney animator, got fired after suggesting the use of computer animation instead of using hand-drawn pictures. Computer animation was still super new at that time, and Disney was wary of switching from their well-loved method to something new. He then got hired by Pixar, who made computer animation a lot more mainstream, and then of course Disney and Pixar came together. Similarly, Woody is like Disney, a more traditional toy, whereas Buzz represents the new and the sometimes scary. Regardless, both toys overcome their differences in order to make Andy happy, just like Disney and Pixar coming together to make kids around the world happy. And they lived happily ever after the end. Filling at number 3 slot is The Old versus the New Part 1. Now there is another allegory with old and new in the story, and it goes back to Andy's dad. And I feel like a lot of people don't know the backstory of his dad, so I'm going to go into it right now. Stay tuned, sit down, grab your popcorn. Now back in the 50s, Andy's dad, who's also called Andy, was from a not so well-off family. There was a contest going on to win a Woody doll from Andy's favorite TV show, Woody's Roundup, and to win it you had to send in 30 Cowboy Crunchy cereal box tops. But Andy's family couldn't afford that many, so he sent in how many he had, along with a letter explaining how hard he had tried to get them. But by then, the contest was stopped and the company started making Buzz Lightyear dolls since that was a new fad and everyone was just obsessed with going to space, because remember, it is the 60s now. Thankfully, a secretary at the company read Andy Sr.'s letter and sent him the only Woody prototype doll that was ever made. That doll was Andy's best friend and got him through the roughest of times, but sadly, he ended up contracting polio and his parents took all his toys to burn him in his garden to get rid of the spread of infection, but he managed to save them and put them to sleep in his attic. And it continues. Now at number 2 is The Old versus the New Part 2. Thankfully, Andy Sr.'s health improved and he survived polio. He went on to get married and they ended up having Andy Jr., the one in all the movies. Sadly, Andy Sr. got sick again, and since the family didn't have health insurance, paying all the medical bills was extremely expensive, so the family ended up losing their house and had to move into Andy Sr.'s childhood home with his mum. As he was dying, he called Andy into his room and told him to go to the attic and find this box. He said, there's someone in that box that's going to be your favorite deputy. He's going to be your best friend. You're going to need a friend, and I want you to have my best friend as a child. Yes, I know you're probably wondering why you're crying right now. It's completely understandable. I'll give you a minute. And since Andy looked exactly like his dad when they were the same age, when Woody finally wakes up and meets Andy Jr., he literally thinks it's the same Andy. Woody represents Andy's dad, comforting, old, and safe. However, when Buzz comes in all new and shiny, it throws Woody off because he's threatened that Andy will like Buzz more than him. Buzz Lightyear kind of represents the stepdad, but Andy is afraid of coming into his mom's life and replacing his dad. That's like the biggest backstory I've ever provided. And finally, at number 1 is the Nazi. So there's a very popular theory going around claiming Toy Story 3 is sort of like an analogy to the Holocaust. Film theorist Jordan Hoffman has claimed the journey the toys go through in the movie is somewhat similar to what Holocaust victims went through, which I feel like is the biggest overstatement in the world, but let's discuss. Buzz automatically recommends hiding in the attic to all the toys, which is exactly what Anne Frank and her family did. Also, if you haven't read Anne Frank's diary, I highly suggest you do. I've read it twice now and it's actually just truly incredible. Either way, a Sunnyside daycare could represent either a concentration camp, since the kids abuse the toys, and Nazi officers abuse the Jewish victims. On the other hand, it can represent Germany, with Lotso taking the role of Hitler himself. Buzz goes from trying to help the toys stay safe to becoming brainwashed by Lotso and doing his bidding. He actually went from being an ally to being a Nazi soldier. And again, the biggest threat the toys face is being thrown away, because then they'll just end up getting burnt alive, which some prisoners actually were.